Hello and welcome to the Cutie Art Crusaders, episode 174 for November 24th, 2015. My name is Rainbow Plasma. I'm the organizer and host of the podcast, and today I'm joined by...
Flutterguy317. I am the media manager, and this week I'll be editing the podcast.
And I'm Atmospark. I don't even know what I do. It's been too long since I've been here.
Aww.
How long has it been since you've actually been here?
2 weeks.
You're our special guest.
I am.
So tell us about your life.
Does that mean that he's kicked off or something afterwards? Because that's usually what we do with most of our special guests.
Yeah, you're going to kick me out?
He could be a recurring special guest.
I don't think... I think that makes... I mean, what's the definition of a special guest?
Yeah, does that make him not special anymore?
These are Joel's our very unspecial guest.
I'm an average guest.
Yeah. So Bernd isn't here this week.
Mm-hmm.
He left a message with us and told us to tell you guys that he doesn't love you, that he's never loved you, that he thinks about someone else all the time when you're not around. And personally, I thought that was incredibly inappropriate. And in fact, I had to censor most of that. But hey, you know, I'm a big advocate for free speech, and I believe that he should be able to say all of the horrible, awful things that he has to say, whenever he wants to. So there you go. That is something that is totally true, and that Bernd definitely said, and that I didn't just make up on the spot. So yeah, you guys can take that however you want. I'm joking, of course.
Yeah.
Bernd just can't be here because he's busy like a big patoot.
Mm-hmm.
And
I thought you were going for a big potato there, but that works too.
Potato.
Yeah.
Bernd isn't here. And yeah, that's basically that.
Yeah.
I personally, I'm going to go off right now. I'm in a bad mood. I'm in a poor mood, and I believe it is because I had a quesadilla for lunch, and it is really not agreeing with me right now.
Aww.
And you know what? I have to say, I should have listened to Twilight. Quesadillas aren't to be trusted. They're too cheesy.
It's true.
They're far too cheesy.
Mm.
So... I'm just taking out my sad little cheesy anger on Bernd, who is actually a wonderful human being and saves puppies on a regular basis.
He's not a
Did you
human,
say shaves
though.
puppies or saves puppies?
Shaves puppies on a regular basis,
That's
and then
fair.
donates the fur to whatever organization gives heritage kids.
So that's where our wolves are coming from then.
Yeah, I'm now confused about whether or not Bernd is a good person or a bad person in this headcanon. I'm confused.
I have no idea anymore.
Yeah.
He's also a horse, by the way.
Right.
I don't know if you knew this.
Right.
But yeah.
Yeah. So
Hey, guys,
so he's
you
a
know-
horse that shaves dogs.
Guys, you know it's Thanksgiving?
Yeah.
It's not, though. That happened last month. I'm not sure if you guys noticed, but I was actually away for that because, Thanksgiving was last month.
Yeah. If you're up north and you like the cold winter, I mean, we have cold winters too. I can't use that against you.
Has it snowed there yet, Ted?
It is not, no.
Okay, because it hasn't here either, and I was going to hold that above your head if it had.
I am in Boston now, and last year it got hammered with snow, so you never know.
Yeah, and Canada had a pretty okay winter. So, and apparently they're predicting that the winter is going to be very mild this year. So that's nice.
Yay. So happy Thanksgiving to anyone who's in the States or celebrates it, I guess, in the States or out of the States.
When is it again? Do you guys hold it on a Wednesday or something silly?
It's
like
on
that?
Thursday, yeah.
That's still silly. Why is
Yeah.
it held on a Thursday? So you
I
get
don't
Thursday,
know.
Friday, and Monday off?
No, we don't get Monday off.
Oh, okay.
We get Thursday and Friday off, and most people take Wednesday off. Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
Well,
yeah,
because
cook, right?
one, yeah, to cook, yeah.
So it's Thanksgiving Thursday
Mm-hmm.
and then Black Friday.
Yes, and then Cyber Monday.
Right, but that's not a holiday.
Right.
What's Sunday?
Sunday is nothing.
It's nothing. Okay, because in
Yeah.
Canada it's Thanksgiving Sunday.
Oh, okay, so you get Monday off.
Well, so it's Thanksgiving Sunday and Monday, but usually people eat the meal on Sunday and then you get the Monday off.
Yeah.
I could be
Yeah.
getting this wrong. I've gotten Canadian things wrong before. I'm just remembering off the top of my head.
I mean, it's basically the same thing.
It could be
right?
the Friday. God, I suck at this. So bad. I don't.
Wow.
Remember. I don't remember. I think it's the Monday off.
Yeah.
I should stop. I should stop talking
Stop
out of
while
my
you're behind.
cheesy butt.
Yeah.
We're doing it here
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you just mentioned Boston.
Yes.
Tell us about your new job.
So I started my new job. Will this be 3 weeks ago at this point? 2 weeks ago
Okay.
from when this airs, and a day. But it's really nice. I enjoy it. I am doing software engineering for a company that creates like video content or streaming content and stuff like that. Well, not the content, but like video streaming solutions for other companies and stuff. Yeah.
Man, has it been 3 weeks already? Jeez.
2 weeks.
Wow.
At that point.
3 weeks. Sorry, 3 weeks when this airs.
2 weeks when it airs. 2 weeks and a day from. When it airs.
2 weeks. I thought you said 3 weeks.
I
Okay, I was gonna say time flies. Holy cow!
Oh, I know. No, it's been quite a difference, like from my last job, just in like the whole atmosphere of the company and like the environment and stuff. And yeah, it's really nice. I enjoy it.
That's nice. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I was gonna talk about one more thing.
Yeah.
Which is Bob Ross.
The happy little tree guy.
And look, here's the deal. So, if you've known me long enough, you know that I hate the dank memes. Like, don't get me wrong. Things get a chuckle out of me, but the dankest of memes, the ones that people can't shut up about, those ones I'm not a huge fan of. Yeah. You know, the John Cena thing got old within like maybe a day.
Oh, if Bernd was here, he would.
As did the Just Do It thing about 2 months before BronyCon, and then everybody decided to just make that a thing during BronyCon. So my initial reaction to Twitch being all goo goo gaga over Bob Ross was like kind of rolling my eyes because everybody would talk about it. That being said, I was watching some streams earlier, and I realized that I do an art podcast, and I said, it might actually be educational and fun to go watch a Bob Ross thing, because I've only seen, like, clips. And so I sat through 2 paintings from Bob Ross, and I have to say, it was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
I would actually highly recommend it if you're interested in art, to just go and sit and put it full screen so you don't have to watch the stupid chat. But yeah, it was really awesome. Like, he had a really magical talent, and he presented it in a positive way that really helped you. It really makes you believe like you can do this alongside of him, no problem.
Mm-hmm.
But there are so many moments during his paintings that are just magical, where he'll do something and it's like, how did you with one stroke turn that from an ugly looking... There was one point where he was like, all right, we're going to make clouds. So he starts with like this dark blue-gray color, and he starts like smearing it along the top, and I'm like, what are you doing? Like, that doesn't make any sense. And then he's like, all right, well, now we're going to take the white, and he brushes a bit of white over the like dark stuff. And what that does is it makes the clouds have like a shadow, right? The dark stuff was the shadow of the clouds, then he puts the white fluffy stuff on top. And like, it was just 2 passes, one of them in dark and one of them in light, and all of a sudden he's got perfect 3D clouds that look great. And I'm like, what? Like,
I love watching.
It's insane.
I love watching him draw mountains, because he uses the like, it's a kind of like a knife brush. I don't know the actual term for it, but it's like he'll paint it all in like black and like or dark brown and stuff, and then he'll take a little bit of white and just scrape it on it, and it's like instant mountain. It's like, what?
Yeah, it's
crazy.
pretty crazy, the kind of stuff that he can do. So, you know, if you're interested in that kind of stuff, then I would recommend checking it out. It was a lot more fun and a lot more educational than I thought it would be. He brings a really positive, fun vibe to art.
Yeah. By the way, big props to the Bob Ross, like the foundation or whatever. Because I guess like people were trying to upload like the Bob Ross videos to YouTube so that people could like watch it and share it and stuff like that.
Right.
And they kept getting like hit with copyright stuff. And I guess like the foundation that owns like the rights to the videos didn't realize that was happening, and like someone told them about it, and they were like, "Oh wow, this is like not in the spirit of Bob Ross." So they released everything on YouTube for free or something like that. I don't know if it's all on YouTube, but it's all for free.
Well, and they've like partnered up with Twitch about it, and like they've had like marathons, and they're continuing to do that to promote their whole like Twitch creative stream stuff. And it was just like I wasn't necessarily surprised because I've heard a lot of good things, and I didn't doubt that he was. But it was a really pleasant experience, and I wasn't expecting to be as immediately invested in it as you know. Like at every part, there was no boring parts. At every part of the piece, he amazed me with his skill and his ability to turn something that I would look at and go, "Oh, that doesn't look good." And with one more stroke, suddenly you back away, and it's like that is a perfect riverbank.
Yeah,
he did something at some point where he was drawing trees, and then there was water. And then he's like, okay, well, we're going to do a bit of a reflection here. And it looked like an okay reflection. And then he's like, all right, so what we're going to do with the brush is we're going to brush down with just like a dry, big brush. We're going to brush down and then across. And he does that, just like stroke, stroke, stroke down, stroke, stroke, stroke across. It's perfect. I was blown away. I was like, what? Like, it looked like an amazing reflection. And it was it was blurred in like the perfect amount. It was great. Anyways, I'd recommend it's on Twitch. I don't know when they stream it because I haven't really kept up with it, but you can go check it out on Twitch. They've got some cool Bob Ross streams, and I think as you were saying, they might have some stuff online. So I'd recommend it. It's fun. It's good. Yeah. It's a good watch.
Yeah.
Anyways,
so speaking of art, and Bob Ross, let's move on to the art.
Hey, it's me first, isn't it?
It is.
Hey, I never get first. Okay, well, I chose this one. It's called Rocket Science by Rubblegun.
Rubblegun? I think you forgot the vowels in there.
It's Russian. There are no vowels.
I beg to differ. There's Russian in the description, and there's lots of vowels. There seems to be a lot of ta-ta-tas.
It's the Cutie Art Crusaders. Not Cutie Art Crusaders. Cutie Art Crusaders. Trying to launch rockets into space, and by a quick glance at the blackboard there, it's legitimate rocket calculations too.
Yeah.
Well, I haven't taken rocket science yet in my university courses, so I cannot confirm or deny.
Well, I mean,
however,
I've played a lot of Kerbals, and some of that is
I've played a lot of Kerbals.
Some of that is the calculations you'd use to figure stuff out. So
yeah.
Well, one of the things I noticed on the board was there seemed to be that the Fibonacci spiral. Yeah. I thought that was something that immediately drew my. Of course, the diagrams are going to draw your attention more so than the text on the board, and that was one that immediately
that Fibonacci spiral that you see there is actually what you use to calculate transfer windows between planets and moons.
I will take your word for it, Mr. Rocket Science.
Isn't like Kerbals used by NASA to like train people?
I don't know about training people, but
I think that might be a stretch.
It is endorsed by NASA.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think NASA was like, it's cool and like it has a lot of good stuff, but I don't think they quite use it to train.
Not training. They have their own simulation stuff for that, but they use it in like workshops and stuff for kids.
Oh yeah, that'd be
and like
cool.
and physics classes and stuff use it.
I mean, like train from a young age because they start,
You mean indoctrination into the space program?
Yeah.
I wish I could have got indoctrinated that way.
So, anyways, about this art piece. There are a lot of things that stand out to me as interesting stylistic choices in this piece, and I don't want to go first because I feel like I always take stuff from Joel. But to you, Joel, like what is the big one that really stands out to you that makes you like, I don't know, like that really gets you wanting to talk about it, like there's so many different things. There's like light and the thing in front, the shadow in front, and the fact that the characters are all aged up, and then there's the blackboard, all these different aspects, but like what really appeals to you? You said you weren't
gonna take anything, but I was gonna say the lighting.
Well, I listed them, but go on the lighting.
Yeah. The fact that it's coming from almost as in it's coming from behind you and you're like behind the bookshelf, like in the whole Interstellar type thing going on here. It's coming in from left hand. Huh?
Spoilers
if you haven't seen Interstellar, which came out 2 years ago.
It's already been 2 years.
No, it came out last year.
You sure?
Last year. Yeah.
It came out 2 years ago. You're crazy.
Year and a half, whatever. Coming in from the left-hand side, coming in through this sort of dusty atmosphere, so everything looks magical and glittery, and that's coming onto the blackboard there, and onto the characters. And the way that Rubalgun has used shading to make everything seem so 3D and popping out and layered. You've got soft shading on the characters. You've got the hard shading for the shadow of the characters on the back wall. I think the lighting for me is the big one. It's what stands out straight away.
Well, and you've got very explicit light lines, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very,
Rays
very
of sun.
clear.
The coordinates.
By the way, Interstellar came out November 7th, 2014. So about a year ago.
Whatever.
What I find always interesting in real life is when you have a dusty room, you can get those rays of light coming in, and it always looks so beautiful. And it's something that I think is under depicted in art pieces. These physical, actual rays of light, as you see coming in here from the top left.
Yeah, they're like shadows from the blinds or whatever it is, or dirt specks on the window or something.
I'm not a light scientist, so I cannot describe exactly why it is that those things are created. But it's always something that I think we all like to see phenomenon that we observe in our day-to-day lives translated onto art pieces on paper, right? Or onto our screens. And so that kind of helps, in a way, bring up the realism of the piece, right? We can look at that and go, oh, I've seen that before. Like that's a realistic thing that happens. And, if it's depicted well, then it can help create a realistic scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of realistic scenes, I love how the camera in this scene is basically placed on a shelf, like behind some objects. So you're basically like peeking in at them coming up with like these rocket equations and stuff, and like it really immerses you into the scene itself.
I'm getting a really cool story just from looking at this. It's Scootaloo's been planning this for ages, and this is like a room in her house or something that the other two don't know about. And then she's been calculating this, and she's been obsessed with this for ages and ages, and she's done these calculations and planned everything out, and then she's brought these two and said, look, I've got this planned out. We're going to the moon. And then Apple Bloom is sitting there going, yeah, no, that's not going to happen. And Sweetie Belle is just smiling politely, but her face is like, get me out of here. And Scootaloo is just really, really trying really, really hard to convince them, no, man, this is cool. It's all good. I figured this out. We'll be safe.
Scootaloo just really wants to fly.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm interested, now that you're talking about the characters, I'm really interested in the depiction of these aged up characters, right? Because they do seem aged up. The hairstyles are different. They're longer, which implies time having passed, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Apple Bloom's got a bonnet instead of a bow.
Yeah. Scootaloo's wings are bigger, and their body shapes overall are more
pony,
adult proportioned.
Mm-hmm.
I think the interesting thing is that they come off as a lot more feminine in this piece, because of their longer hair, which is an interesting aspect, because I think that can change the character's perception, the perception of the character rather. Obviously Scootaloo is the biggest one because she has kind of a short haircut, kind of what's that haircut called, like the pixie haircut kind of style, but in pony form. And in this one she's got a much longer style. But even both Apple Bloom and Sweetie Belle, you can tell that that's changed. And to me, that kind of changes my perception of them as a character. Not only does it make them look older, but I think it makes them look a lot more womanly, as opposed to just being kids. Now they're grown adults. They're grown women, which I thought was kind of an interesting take on aging up characters.
Maybe like Scootaloo's just been here like trapped so long trying to figure out these equations that she just forgot to like get her haircut. Yeah, I mean, I love the kind of the posters too on either side of the chalkboard.
Yeah.
They kind of give it a really cool atmosphere, like this is something that they're passionate about, or at least Scootaloo is passionate about.
It's something she's been planning for ages. She's obsessed with rocketry and trying to get into space.
Yeah. Which, I mean, who isn't, right?
Yeah, right? I mean, I've got over 800 hours in Kerbals.
Yeah. So could you launch a rocket into space?
I mean, I can in a game.
Yeah, I
Oh.
was about to say, game is a bit different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the atmospheric drag calculations in real life are a bit different than in a game.
Those I recognize some of those words. They were some of those words were in fact words.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how I feel when you talk about game development.
Games.
Games.
I wanted to go back for a second and talk about what you were saying about it being on a shelf. And I'm going to disagree just because I think that there's some things that if the artist wanted to depict it as being on a shelf that they could have improved on.
Okay.
The shadows are very harsh on the bookshelf. It's there's like no light. Like it's just all shadow. And so that's a bit strange in the first place, but also the angle of the camera as well seems very pulled back. If this was a bookshelf against a wall, I would imagine that the camera would be back from the bookshelf in the wall, because you get the perspective on the items on the shelf are very similar to the perspective of the characters. And so it's kind of, you get the sense that there's planes, right? That there's a foreground and a background, right? Because the separation in value helps you kind of figure that out. But I don't get a sense of 3 dimensions. I don't get a sense of depth beyond just those planes. And I think the kind of angle, the is it aperture? It doesn't match up with the camera being right there. These things that would be on the shelf would be much, much larger and more distorted with the camera angle. I don't know quite what to make of where the camera would be relative, because it's obviously relative in such a way that the light doesn't manage to hit these objects. It's a very, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying it's bad. It's just very interesting, and I wouldn't describe it in the same way that you had as being, realistic as if it was on a shelf. To me, it's a very unrealistic, not in a bad way, but it is unrealistic in a lot of different interesting ways.
Well, I mean, we also don't know how large these objects on on this quote unquote shelf, it could be a desk or who knows what, are. Like, it could be tiny. Like, they could be a little model of a rocket that's like, yay high. So
I think a desk is a great idea. Like, I think that would probably be the most likely scenario. But again, I'm so confused by the decision to put it in like pure black, and I'm not quite sure I agree with it. But it's an interesting choice.
Yeah.
Well, it's not something you're supposed to look at. So if it had color, it would draw your attention.
Yeah, I do agree. I just feel like the black is too monotone. It's too perfectly black, We've had talks before about when you look at your wall, it's painted one color, but you can see all the little imperfections in it, right? This is why textures work so well on pieces. And I just feel like that black is too pure, void, no color computer black, you know what I mean? That it kind of takes me out of it. Well, it does a great job of separating those planes, right? Because of the shift in value is quite extreme. But when I take a look at it, it kind of is like, because of how pure black it is and how it doesn't seem to interact with the scene as a whole. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it definitely is like an artistic choice. It's not meant to be realistic in any way. But I think like it was probably made so that like, because you're not supposed to look at that. You're supposed to like see the outlines of shapes and be like, oh, okay, we are on a desk and looking at this, or we are somewhere. It's more to like put you in that location rather than to like immerse you in like the entire scene, I guess. I don't know.
Right. I think I just have one more kind of like rhetorical question to ask. There's not really an answer that we have to answer right now, but you mentioned like, well, it's not supposed to be realistic, and it's like, if that's the case, then why is the rest of the piece realistic, right? Because we've got realistic lighting, and the characters are depicted in a way that makes them seem more in tune with the scene, and the chalkboard is beautifully rendered.
Yeah.
With that looks very realistic, and it's like everything else is realistic, so I'm just questioning why is that theme changed with the thing in the front. But it's okay.
Yeah.
We don't need to answer that right now, and frankly we probably couldn't answer because we're not the artist.
Well, and I think it also kind of like just the person who's viewing it also kind of could feel different about it and whatnot. Like, see, I look at this piece and I see something that would maybe Pixar would do, or something like that, like a Toy Story kind of thing, where it's like the actual like scene itself is like rendered beautifully, but there are these little quirks and stuff that like kind of force the viewer into certain like things, and I kind of see that as one of them. But yeah,
interesting.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
I
Next
suppose
piece.
it is mine.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so my art piece is called Druid Shy by Jada Jinx. And Jada Jinx we know in person from meeting her several years at BronyCon. She's a very nice girl who enjoys spending time with. And I've always found it quite interesting to follow Jada Jinx on DeviantArt, because Jada Jinx does a whole slew of different things. She's very active. She's very participatory in the Brony artistic community. She's made designs for paper ponies before. She's done a lot of con work. So she's made art for cons. She does a lot of her own independent work with comics and series, and she experiments a lot with different styles and crossovers. And she's just, in the best way possible, she's kind of all over the place. And so it makes for a very, she does vectors too, if I remember correctly. And or at least vector or show accurate style stuff.
Yeah.
And so like it's always such an interesting thing to be watching her, because 1 week she'll come out with a page from her comic, the next week she'll come out with this crazy abstract style thing, the next week she'll come out and she'll have done like this word background elements of harmony thing using type text, and it's like what it's always a new thing. But I do have to say that she came out with 3 art pieces in the last little bit, which is why I'm featuring this one now, and Druid Shy is among them, that I look at it and I just go, whoa, I did not see this coming from Jada Jinx. When I think of Jada Jinx, I think of like a premier experimenter, a person who is a wonderful jack of all trades. But when I see something like this is like, she's like really digging down and using so much of her potential by pumping this much energy into one art piece, which is something that I think is a little bit different from what I've seen before from her works, and I'm blown away by it. When I saw this at first, I didn't know this was a Jada Jinx thing, and when I did, I was like, wow, that is incredible. That was it. I don't even know how to describe it. It just shocked me so much, and I'm so happy that I get to see this side of her art as well. Because it's beautifully depicted with wonderful colors, fantastic scene. The composition is great. I just love like so much of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. I love kind of seeing her different works and stuff, and in this piece in particular, I do love the colors. I love like how green the piece is, which is kind of not something you would normally expect to hear on this show, I guess. But I think she did a really good job of kind of blending the green with like this golden yellow that is Fluttershy, and like I don't know, it just like it pops, and but it also like blends in with it. It's really nice.
Yeah, it's just I'm really quite impressed at the color choice, because of how it's the contrast, right? Like we keep looking at these colors and it's like, it's so neon, right? And yet it doesn't hurt to look at. And that is always so impressive to me when you can when you can dance along the upper end of the saturation spectrum
Mm-hmm.
and still be able to do it effectively in a way that doesn't make people go, ugh. You know,
Yeah.
it's a dangerous dance. It's a tightrope that you walk, and when
Yeah.
people do it well, it's incredibly impressive. But it can also fail horribly. It's like tightrope walking across like Niagara Falls, right? Like,
Or like, you know, just tightrope walking in general.
yeah. But what I mean is like the bigger risk you take, the more impressive it is when you pull it off. But also the more devastating it is if you fail, right?
Mhm.
But this is one of those instances where it really does pay off, and it's kind of hard to compare, right, when you have something that's done this well on that end of the spectrum.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was actually in a color scheme designer trying to figure out like how these colors kind of relate to each other. I don't know if it's like a tetradic piece where you have like the 4 main colors like green, red, yellow, and blue. But yeah,
Well,
they
I
all
think
go together well.
I think, you know, we often emphasize color schemes, especially because people love to use simple themes like complementary colors and things like that. But I wouldn't necessarily say that this one follows this as much, just because there's so many different colors. You can tell
Yeah.
what the dominant colors are, right? And that's
Yeah.
yellow and green. Those are kind of the 2 most dominant colors. But even saying that is kind of not getting the whole picture, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because there's the blues and the purples of the background that blend with everything, and then there's the, you know, like the reddy pink of her hair, which takes up a lot of the piece.
Yep.
So to say that this piece is just kind of green and yellow, and therefore say that it's not complementary, but what's the word for similar colors? Analogous. Yes.
Yeah.
So to say that this piece is analogous, I think isn't giving it enough credit, because
Yeah.
there's so much blue, which it can be like bluey purple, which is a complement to yellow, and then pinky red, which is kind of a complement of green, right? So
Yeah.
it's very difficult to judge it to take it down and to boil it down into something simple color wise that you can analyze, right?
Yeah. Well, I always enjoy like if there's a piece like this, or I know we've featured several more where it's like there are these dominant colors that like you can see, and it's kind of like trying to figure out what the artist was thinking when they actually chose them. You know, if they were thinking about that at all. It could just be like, you know, oh, this green looks good, oh, this yellow looks good. But like just to kind of see if like there's any like interesting things with color theory going on.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't know.
I will say that it often, I will look at a piece like this, right, and you could tell that like the background color was chosen, and the greeny kind of spirity stuff, the druidic influences were chosen, obviously with her armor as well. And I think what was done on purpose and to great effect was the alteration of Fluttershy's base colors, right? Because when you take a look at her actual colors, they're a very soft, powdery yellow and soft, powdery pink, right? But when you take a look at these ones in this piece, they're not like that. It's a much more full yellow, a deeper orangey almost yellow. And her hair is kind of, again, that darker red. And what that does is it serves to provide a higher contrast, right? To emphasize kind of the contrast between not only the colors, right, as we were talking yellow and purple and red and green, right, not only to emphasize those, but I think also to emphasize the difference in value between the character, which is now she's been pushed to be darker yellows into orange, darker pinks into red. So she's darker in value than the wispiness, the things that are high lightness, high saturation around her. Those light greens, the light blues, right? Those would really clash with light yellows and light pinks. So she's taken these colors, pushed them down to be more saturated and darker, and it kind of has a twofold effect of adding complement to the piece and making her stand out.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I also like the color that she chose for like Fluttershy, like her skin, well, fur color. It makes her look more golden than yellow. almost like she's like
It's beautiful for sure.
more regal in a way. I don't know. And I like the design, like the designs that are on her. These little like flower things.
Mhm.
All the swirlies.
Yeah. It's a very spirally piece.
Yeah. What about you, Joel?
Overall, I mean, I like the crazy colors that are going on, like the real bright greens and there's whites everywhere. There's the cyans, the violets. I mean, it's all not. I mean, like the violets and stuff you wouldn't really associate with Fluttershy normally, but it perfectly makes sense with this.
Do you get a sense of almost being, I don't know what the right word is, but I'm going to use the word overwhelmed by this piece?
A little bit. Sensory overload?
Yeah, a little bit of that. But what I find interesting is that's nothing to do with the colors, but it's more to do with the composition and the spacing, right?
Yeah.
There's so little negative space in this piece. Every bit of negative space is taken up by like a wisp of a druid or a bird spirit thing, you know?
Yeah.
So you think that as well? You kind of get that feeling.
Yeah. There's just so much going on in such a small space.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting. I think overwhelming is often a negative word, and that's not what I'm trying to convey. But I can't come up with a better word.
It's a fairly accurate word. It's
very
overwhelming.
It's very busy. It's a very busy piece.
Mm-hmm.
Overwhelming doesn't have to be a negative thing. So.
Yeah, it does have like a kind of a negative connotation, but that's just due to society and
It's just whelming, okay?
I am so whelmed by this
So
piece.
whelmed. Like piece.
Something I didn't even notice until like I kind of had a chance to look at this piece a little bit more in depth is there's like these feathers that are there as well, kind of like in the foreground, but they're like inside these wisps, and those are interesting.
And the trail from the birds. The deer doesn't have feathers, but the birds do.
Right.
Yeah.
It looks like the feathers might actually be part of her clothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And before we move on, I wanted to make one last comment on this piece that was kind of meta. The version of this picture that you're going to see on the screen, if you look really carefully, it's going to have a watermark. Because Jada Jinx has watermarked this one on DeviantArt, and we can't get a file. So unless Ted, you want to go and contact her for a non-watermarked version, it's going to have a very slight watermark.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like just signing it would have been better, but she said further down in the comments that she wants to sell it, and people have already been stealing this and printing it out.
Right, and what I wanted to do by talking about it is basically what you said there, which is that there's a valid reason for why she's doing that, and so people shouldn't go and assume certain things about why people are watermarked. I mean, yes, we all look at watermarks and go kind of but this DeviantArt one isn't bad. DeviantArt's had a lot of worse ones before.
I don't mind watermarks per se, but I don't like the DeviantArt one. I don't like that it's full on right in the middle, covering everything. If it's like off in the corner.
It's been worse though, right?
Yeah.
Like the DeviantArt one used to be awful before.
Yeah.
So intrusive. At least now it's like I look at it, I'm like, is there something in the middle of the piece? Oh yeah. Yeah. So anyways, just wanted to let people know about that. Like, we are aware that there's watermarks, and we just want to convey that there's a legitimate reason for it. She wants to sell this, and she doesn't want her art stolen, and she would like to make a profit off of her work, which makes total sense.
Yeah.
But we should move on to the last art piece.
All right, which is the one that I'm bringing today, which is called Midnight Sun by Rain Gear. And this is a piece of Rainbow Dash. Once again, it's kind of a watery scene where she's like leaving streaks of rainbow across the sky. He's done quite a few of these before.
Yes. As he said, it seems to be a recurring theme.
Yeah. I really love like is it the composition or the perspective of this piece, how it's like tilted slightly and like Rainbow Dash is sideways. Yeah. Do you want to talk about that?
No, you can go.
Oh.
No, Joel, you go.
I mean, pretty much what Floody Guy was saying. It's not flat like you'd expect a picture to be, where it's the horizon is level with the bottom of the picture. It's at this huge 45-degree angle off to the right, to the top right, and then Rainbow Dash is at an even further angle. She's pretty much vertical. Like she's pretty much been tilted 90 degrees from horizontal. And the sun isn't where you'd expect, and everything, the whole horizon has been tilted. and it makes you go, "Wait, hang on, what?" And then tilt your head to look at it. And I love stuff that does that. I love stuff that makes you go, "Oh, hang on, that's weird. What?"
Right? Yeah, yeah.
It seems
It is like a combination of the angle and the curvature too, right? Like it's got both of those things going for it. That even when you tilt your head, there's still this sense of like, "Whoa, wait,
Yeah,
there's more."
Yeah,
it's like a reverse fisheye.
Yeah. I mean, like scenes with Rainbow Dash kind of are like natural, I guess, in this kind of weird warped state, because she can like do these kind of crazy swoops and feats and stuff that other ponies can't do.
Yeah.
So
Right.
Yeah, we kind of see that a lot.
Yeah.
Something that I like about this piece in particular is that Rain Gear used Rainbow Dash's wings and also this trail of her tail rainbow to kind of like frame her head. So her head's kind of like, it's not in the direct center of the piece, but it is kind of in the focal point because of like all this stuff that's like driving you right.
Focal point?
Yeah, I know.
Wasn't gonna let you get away with that one.
Oh, yeah. I really like that. I enjoy creative methods to kind of drive people's focus, and that really caught my attention in this piece.
It's not just the wings and the thing; it's the cliffs too. There's cliffs on either side, and then right in the middle of those two cliffs is her face.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there are a lot of different things that point to Rainbow Dash in this piece, not just again like the fact that it's front and center.
Yeah. I liked his depiction of Rainbow Dash's smoke trail, where it actually looks like clouds or smoke. It's not hard like it is in the show. It's like
right. You
smoke,
mean the rainbow?
Yeah, the rainbow. It's like it's twirling inside itself, and you can see pretty much right behind her. It's the yellow and the orange are all mixed up straight away. It's I like that more than I like the straight straight edge thing that you see in the show.
Yeah. It's like a plain contrail.
Yeah,
more so than like.
Yeah. I think he approaches these things in kind of a semi-realistic way, where he takes realistic concepts and then just kind of applies them in interesting ways. Like for example, the way that the water interacts with the character in this piece. Like there's this air bubble zoomy thing, and it's like, yeah, that might not be perfect realistically, but it certainly makes for an interesting scene and an interesting kind of part of this piece, right? And I think that it kind of works the same way with the trail, right? Like it's not perfect and it's weird and it's not quite cloudy or not quite like an air trail, but he's taking inspiration from those things and creating an interesting kind of version of it that is different from the show, as you mentioned.
Right.
Yeah. Something else that's like not really realistic but is really cool is the way that the clouds kind of part for the sun,
or the moon,
or the moon. I can't really tell. I'm guessing it's the moon, but it's like you never see that never happens in real life. It's like not like that at least. And
that's purely artistic license.
Well, yeah, it's like the light is piercing a hole through the clouds.
Yeah, which is really cool, and like shining not really directly on Rainbow Dash, but shining on the water, so that the reflected light from the water casts like this silhouette of Rainbow Dash, which is really cool.
Yeah, and another one of those things too is on her wingtips. Right, there's these like lines of air that are like kind of semi-realistic, but it's not like it's kind of an artistic interpretation. It just kind of lies in this interesting kind of stylistic zone where it takes inspiration from realistic concepts, and he uses them kind of in his own unique way.
Yeah. Man, how strong must her wings be to withstand that kind of?
Somebody did a calculation from when she caught Rarity in the episode where she did the thing, the Sonic Rainboom. Somebody did calculations. Some huge amount of weight, like a couple of tons or something.
Yeah.
Classic Rain Gear. There's a hint of a cloud city on the left.
Yeah. And his background, I think, is something to be really admired. I love the way that the ground and the cliffs are depicted. I think it's beautiful, and as always, he does such a great job with the clouds. They just look so beautiful. I don't know where that comes from, but it's definitely a specialty of his. clouds, and like you said, the moon shining through the clouds. It's just beautiful. The little column or cylinder that it carves out is so well depicted, and so it gives off, even though it's in the farthest background, it still manages to push even farther back with the depth there, with the way that he layers those clouds, and that's incredibly impressive.
Yeah, he does a really good job of kind of layering value in a way that kind of gives pieces depth. And I guess like clouds are pretty easy. Well, I'm not going to say easy to do that with, but like they're versatile enough that you can do that.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that I was talking about before with the first art piece that we featured was that there was a sense of foreground and background, but then they were kind of flat planes unto themselves, right? And here there's just so many different layers that I don't get the same sense, right? Rainbow Dash is at the front, and then you've got the cliffs on the left, but the cliffs are layered, so they've got their own three-dimensionality. And then there's a cliff on the right, which is in front of the cloud backgrounds, and then there's kind of clouds in front of the big cloud wall at the back. But as I mentioned before, even that big cloud wall at the back also has its own depth because of the moon. There's depth upon depth upon depth in this piece, and it really, really helps make the piece feel 3D because there's many stages. There's not just cut foreground, cut middle ground, cut background.
Yeah,
it's really impressive from a depth perspective. It's incredibly 3D looking.
Yeah, definitely.
Guys, look,
you were talking.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, look, there's Applejack's parrots in the sky.
Aww, there's 3 of them.
I know.
Who died? Ooh.
Granny's.
Wow. You were talking about Bob Ross in our kind of warm up intro thing, and if you ever get a chance to watch Rain Gear stream, it's very interesting and fairly similar in that he lays down like these dark grays and stuff like that, and then he'll do one stroke of like light color, and it's just like it gives the cloud a definition, and it's just like ooh, boggles the mind. It's like, how did you even?
Yeah. Like he's become such an expert in it that it just easily comes off the brush in magical different ways.
Yeah.
But does he draw happy little trees? Because
there are no trees.
He hasn't. No, he drew one with Twilight.
I don't know.
It wasn't a happy little tree. It was like the middle of the drawing.
Yeah, that's
I guess
true.
he makes up for it with happy little clouds.
Yeah.
I guess I can deal with that.
Dear Rain Gear, if you're listening to this,
more happy little trees.
More happy trees.
All right. Well, that is all of our art for this week, guys. But we should move on now to the questions.
Okay. So I guess that's me, right? I do those?
Probably.
It's been a while, so just remind me.
Who are you again?
Well, you take the words, Joel, and you read them off. And if you've forgotten how to English, well, then I guess we'll have to start from a little bit further back.
Ormo has forgotten how to say the little letter that looks like a man with a hat. What do you do to relax? Sent in by Son and Blitz. Like everything this week.
Yeah.
I don't eat quesadillas. You guys haven't noticed because I've been very quiet about it, but whenever I'm not talking, I am physically standing up and walking around my room because I'm having cramps.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
So I definitely do not eat quesadillas to relax.
I don't know.
I tend to like program. It's really weird, but I if I get into like a project, like a personal project, that I can do on my own pace and like that has like stuff that I can physically see happening and stuff, like I find that relaxing. I don't know. I also just like nap from time to time.
That's cheating.
No.
You can't just
and
say
I hang out
naps are cheating.
I hang out with these guys sometimes. That's relaxing.
I haven't seen you in like 2 weeks. You don't hang out with me at all.
Well, then what were you doing, Joel? What do you do to relax?
Not hanging out with me, obviously.
Right. I sit in front of a fan or an air conditioner and play a game. I don't know,
That's
Kerbals, Rocket League, Fallout, Halo, something like that.
That's fair. So, do you want my answer to be real answer or like nice answer?
Real.
Do we have to censor the real answer?
No, we don't have to censor the real answer. The real answer is I relax by shutting myself away from all human contact, and it's been really negative in my life, and I need to stop doing it, and I'm actually working to stop doing that and find other means of relaxing that doesn't completely remove me from every other person.
Shopping.
So that's my real answer.
Yeah.
So I've been way too much of a shut-in over the last couple of years, so I am working on finding other ways to relax, but currently my way of relaxing is to void all contact with human beings for far too long.
Well, that's the whole, like, if we could get into a whole topic of, like, introverted versus extroverted and that whole thing.
It's not, I mean, introverted versus extroverted is an energy thing. I just don't get out enough as is, regardless of my introversion. I'm an introvert, yes, but it's still, that doesn't mean I don't also have problems with how I relax and just communicating with people anyways. So that's my real answer.
Okay.
Do you want to say your fake answer now, too, or?
I mean... I watch internet videos and sometimes play video games. Which is what I do when I shut myself away from people. So, like,
I haven't seen you on Rocket League in ages.
I've been playing with Zach. You just haven't been online.
We played, we keep talking and no one explodes.
We did, yeah.
That was fun.
For sure. So yeah, I play video games and I watch internet TV shows. And that's not a bad thing, right? Like I don't want to come off as that's a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. It's just I do it way too much, and I default to it way too much. So like I need to use it sparingly and like actually go out and interact with people before I hit the age of 40 and suddenly realize that geez, don't have any friends. So yeah, it's all about moderation, kids.
So you have what, like a week?
I'm turning 22, Ted, not 40.
Oh, right, yeah. By the way, happy birthday early.
Yes. It's not even
totally missed that.
It's not even gonna be my birthday. It's gonna be like it's like a week from when this airs.
Yeah,
it's
I
like
know.
a week and a half when we're recording.
So guys, get on that. Make stuff. I don't know. Send him a box of poop in it or something. I don't know.
Okay, so you don't have to make me stuff, but definitely don't send me a box of poop.
What about like the little poop emojis?
No.
Undo that.
All right, what's the next question?
Okay, second question, also by Solon Blitz, is who was your hero growing up?
Do you want another real answer?
Can we expand this to not just like growing up, but like who have been your heroes up to now?
Let me start, and it'll expand the question from there. So, I think for most people, I can't speak for everyone, but I think for most people, the concept of a hero that you gain at a young age and continue to have, almost like Rainbow Dash's obsession with the Wonderbolts, I think that's not very realistic. I don't think most people work that way. I think most people kind of change their heroes depending on what happens, because we're all changing human beings that go through so much change in our short little lives. That I just think that there's so many. If I were to look back, I wouldn't be able to pick out one hero that I had. I could pick out several different things that I admired and inspired to be like. But one singular hero, not really. So for me, something that's always been an inspiration for me is people who make great video games. But I'm not going to sit here and say, oh yeah, Shigeru Miyamoto, or anything else like that, because like there's so many people who contributed to making awesome games, right? It's not just the people who came up with the ideas, the people running it. It's also all the people who put in the work too. Like I admire those people as well. I've admired different people at different times, and then those people have changed, and so I no longer admire them. There's plenty of people who've happened like that, and so to say that I would have one hero, like I disagree. I don't think I've ever had one. I think and to get sappy, the only people who have consistently stayed heroes in my life have been my parents. They've always been huge inspirations, and at no point has that ever changed. So if you want a hero that I've had my entire life, it's probably been my parents. But other than that, it's constantly changing.
Well, now the rest of our answers are just going to sound like really dumb because they're not going to be our parents. No, Yeah. I mean, parents, yes, but that aside, I think a hero of mine, and again, I agree with a lot of the things that Max said. Like, I have multiple people that I look up to, and it's changed like throughout my life. But like one of the heroes that I currently admire is Elon Musk, who created the Tesla car and who's working on like solar energy stuff and like
And taking the internet to
space
Mars.
stuff.
That's fair.
Because he's like a modern day Tesla, really.
Mhm.
Like he's all about innovation and like spreading knowledge and like pushing forward into the future with science and technology.
Right.
So I look up to that.
What about you, Joel?
I mean, I don't really think I'd do it, like, at all. I don't have someone.
But like,
Really?
have there been people out there who have inspired you, or there are people that you have kind of admired for certain traits? Maybe not enough to consider a hero necessarily, but
I don't know. I don't really get into that. I don't know. I don't think so.
What about like
that's fair. That's an answer. I
Yeah.
mean, that's totally fair.
what about like Burned? Do you look up to Burned?
Not since he cut his hair. I used to look up to him because he had longer hair than me, but now I have longer hair than him, so therefore I am better than him.
More feminine. We've been over this.
So therefore, he looks up to you now.
Yeah,
well, no.
exactly.
Technically, Joel is the tallest one of all of us by like an inch. So
Yeah.
technically, he looks down on all of us physically.
Whoa.
And emotionally. And spiritually. And intelligently.
I don't know.
I
Like,
mean-
I just find the concept of heroes, like, it just doesn't make sense to me in a long-term sense, especially because, like no offense, Ted, but most times people list heroes, and it's people that they've never met,
Yeah.
and to me that's always seemed weird because, like, people are always going to put their extreme sides forward, right? Like, you're always going to hear about someone who's doing something really dumb or really evil, or like who's doing something really great, right? But like, everybody's a human being, right? Like, everybody does stupid stuff, everybody poops, and like everybody makes mistakes and all that kind of stuff like that. To me, the people who have inspired me the most are people that I meet who I get to know for, a short amount of time, but enough to be able to see them in different situations, I've had family members, friends of family, leaders at churches and stuff like that who I've seen enough times around at different places to get this sense of their moral goodness and their willingness to contribute to community and to not look down on those who are under them, business-wise or politically or whatever, To me, those are people who inspire me because I get to see them in a variety of different situations, and I get a much clearer judgment of their character as a human being. So I guess that's also another reason why I don't really consider heroes for people that I don't meet. I guess I'm more inclined towards the everyday hero kind of mentality. So that's just my perspective on it. I don't think it's wrong to have a hero or anything like that. I just, it's just not something that necessarily resonates with me. I know a lot of people talk about heroes like Miyazaki. I claimed that was by far the one that people are going to quote the most.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's wrong. I don't think you're a bad person or anything like that for doing that. It's just, it doesn't, having a singular hero like that doesn't necessarily resonate with me in the same way.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
Were you guys ready for real questions? Because you got them.
Okay, who's your favorite superhero?
Ooh.
I actually don't know. I don't know what my favorite
I'm not sure
superhero
either.
would be.
Yeah, I'm not sure either.
Man, this is hard.
Can I say, does Rocket, what is it, Rocket Raccoon?
Rocket
count?
Raccoon,
Yeah, I
does
mean,
he
that's a
count?
superhero.
Yeah, he probably counts. Yeah,
That's a
yeah, he
superhero.
counts. He's part of
Yeah,
Marvel.
or
Yeah.
Groot. Groot is good.
This is really gonna bug me that I don't know the answer to this.
Ant-Man.
Ant-Man looks dumb. Okay, the movie might have been fine, but like the concept is silly, and the name is silly. Come on, I guess comic books are kind of silly. I don't know. If there's a superhero about butts, then that'll be my favorite. Buttman or Buttwoman.
Yeah.
No discrimination.
Butt girl.
The Butt Lord.
Butt girl. Yeah.
Not to be confused with Batgirl.
I don't
Yeah, it's a completely different franchise.
Okay, if you want a real answer, the core pirate.
Yeah.
Totally a real answer.
Yes.
Yeah.
So good.
All right.
Except he's a super villain.
Same thing.
Live
he was a
long enough
superhero
to see
before.
yourself become the villain, etc.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. All right. That's the questions for this week.
Yeah.
Joel,
Hmm.
do you remember how to do the plugs?
I think I do. I'll give it a shot. Okay. So we have a couple of places you can find us. Picardo.tv/Cutie Art Crusaders, which is where you can watch us live on every Tuesday. Yeah, Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
CutieArtCrusaders.deviant.com, CutieArtCrusaders@gmail.com, YouTube.com/CutieArtCrusaders, CutieArtCrusaders.tumblr.com, Facebook.com/CutieArtCrusaders, and at CutieArtCrusade on Twitter.
Technically, it is Wednesday for like the Eastern Hemisphere.
Yeah, and Southern.
Yeah.
Because it. Well, no, you're in the Eastern Hemisphere,
I'm in the Southern Hemisphere.
Yeah.
but you're also in the Eastern Hemisphere.
Well, where's the divide for that?
It's like somewhere Pacific Ocean, I think.
Is it the international dateline?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Well, then
So
I
you're
guess
in
that
the
makes
Eastern.
sense.
Yeah. So yeah, like once you cross the Atlantic Ocean, you're gonna be in Wednesday when we're airing. I think.
But
Yeah.
every time I've come to the States, I've never been across the Atlantic Ocean. I've only ever gone across
Going
the Pacific
right,
Ocean.
Joel.
So,
Going east.
yeah. So if you were to fly from like New York to London, for instance, and watch our show over like the Wi-Fi that's on airplanes, you would be transitioning from Tuesday to Wednesday.
But there isn't Wi-Fi on international flights.
What are you talking about, Ted?
I don't know
You
anymore.
can transition from Tuesday to Wednesday without having to get onto a plane. We do it every day. It's called
Lord.
the clock's rolling over. Why do you have to be on a plane? You don't have to be on a plane to go to the next day.
I have no idea what I'm talking about anymore.
Yeah, okay. Nice try, though. Nice try.
I get where you're coming from, but
Yeah.
Eh.
Anyways, there's a spoiler cast as well that someone's going to do. Not me, not Ted, because we're not here. But Joel, you should
is it
wrangle
going to be
up
me and
Bernd.
Silver again?
You should wrangle up Burned.
Wrangle up Burned.
And get him to do a spoiler cast.
Wrangle you some Burned.
And that'll be airing right after this. If you're on YouTube, then you can go check it out on our page. All that majazz. Yeah, and we will be back next week, I suppose. I think next week it's going to be just me and Burned.
Yeah. I'm not
Yeah.
going to be here. I've got a convention to go to.
I won't be here. I'll be moving to my actual apartment.
Yeah, so we'll see what that is. I'm going to be away on the weekend, but I should be here on Friday, the Friday before to record. So we'll see if there's even an episode. Woo! Who knows?
Hey.
It's always a journey. But yeah, that'll be next week. And until then, we are out for this week. So thank you guys for watching. Whether or not you're on the live stream or on YouTube, we love you all the same. My name is Rainbow Plasma.
I'm Photograph317.
And I'm Apple Spark.
And we'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye.